Speak out. You are the voice of a new generation. And this is your station. Talk Radio 93.7 Citizen FM.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك له لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك له لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحج أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله وتزودوا فإن خير الزاد تقوى واتقوني يا أولي الألباب. Good afternoon, listeners all over the nations. It is your program, our program, Guest of Allah, on 93.7 Citizen FM, Abuja. I remain your brother in Islam, Imam Abdurrahman Olajide Oyediran. With me is my friend, Dr. Shuaib Murtado Babamale. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We have in the house, in the studio this afternoon, a very august visitor, a very special guest, in person of our brother in Islam, Al-Hajj Ibrahim Muhammad, who is the National Coordinator, Independent Hajj Reporters. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Also, the initiator of the program, in person of my big brother, Al-Hajj Abdul Fattah Abdul Salam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is our program, your program, where we have been dissecting issues that have to do with preparation, planning, and embarking on Hajj, that is pilgrimage to the Holy Land, Mecca and Medina. And this afternoon, inshallah, we'll be conversing with our brother, the National Coordinator of Independent Hajj Reporters, like I've just introduced, Brother Ibrahim Muhammad, who will be sharing his experience with us over the years about Hajj. Please, sir, can you share with our listeners the common challenges associated with Hajj that may make it a bit difficult or cumbersome sometime for intending pilgrims? What are those common challenges and how can we surmount them?
Thank you very much, my brother. Once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, listeners. It is a great pleasure and exceptional honor to be here to be able to share the little experience we have in the Hajj industry over the years on the sometimes complications, troubleshooting the Hajj operation, and what might likely be the causative factors of those challenges. I think the fundamental aspect of Hajj operation that many people doesn't know is the phases. How many phases Hajj operation is divided into? Well, there are two broad aspects of Hajj. We have the Hajj operation, which deal with the administrative aspect of Hajj operation, and we have the Hajj activities, which actually deal with the spiritual do's and don'ts, the Hajj rite itself, and that one is limited to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, when you plan for Hajj itself, preparation is subdivided into three. One, the pre-Hajj preparations, which is what is being done in the 168 Hajj participating countries all over the world. And the pre-Hajj preparations entail the collections, registrations of pilgrims, documentation of pilgrims travel, that has to do with consular services anyway, visa, the BTA processing, and enlightening the pilgrims on what they expect, or what is expected of them, and what they will go through before reaching Saudi Arabia, and what is expected for them when they are in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So they are all classified. In fact, what we deal in Nigeria, the National Hajj Commission, the state pilgrim, is pre-Hajj exercise. And in this pre-Hajj exercise, the most vital aspect of it is the airlift of pilgrims. And I tell you why airlift of pilgrims we target as constituting almost 80% of the entire Hajj exercise. Once you solve airlift, you have solved 80% of the entire Hajj exercise. It is very simple. First, Hajj is not performed in Nigeria, and Hajj is performed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, if you do documentation properly, you register accordingly. Maybe your Hajj fare is even the cheapest all over the world. You do 24/7 enlightenment to the pilgrims, and at the end of the day, you were not able to transport them to Saudi Arabia. That means you have done nothing, because the pilgrims stand zero chance of performing Hajj. So now, if we even do the registration haphazardly, let me put it that way, no proper enlightenment, that you were able to transport the pilgrims where he can perform Hajj rites, maybe he may get it right there or not. So that is why airlift, everything in Hajj operation is done tied into airlift. And Hajj administrative worldwide is time regulated activities. You have to be very, very time conscious if you're administrator. In fact, it is the only reminder that should be on your handbook. And why is this so? All Hajj activities is tied to the Arafat day. It ends, your times table ends on the Arafat day. Unlike, for example, maybe there's a worldly event, maybe with the Eagle Square tomorrow, there's a ceremony in Eagle Square tomorrow. If the preparation is not right, it might be cancelled or even postponed. Even sometimes the World Bank, the World Football will say, okay, no, the World Cup will not be postponed, but you cannot postpone Hajj. Neither can you cancel it unless circumstances entail you to do so. So whatever you are planning as Hajj administrator, you have to be time conscious. So if you miss a step, you miss a lot. That is another factor. And the third factor, you must build it at your subconscious mind that Hajj is not part of worldly activities. It's not agriculture. You are not a dealer. where everything is profit oriented.
It's not football.
So it is activities dedicated to the guest of Al-Rahama. It's like you are a servant of God here on earth because you are serving his guest in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So once you will be able to put this at the back of your mind in planning, I can tell you 80% or 90% of the problem I have solved. Now, let's look at it in detail. What are those challenges all over the years? Not even now, all over the years. Having spent almost 20-something years in the industry, I can tell you, if you perform Hajj in the last 15 years, and you go to Saudi Arabia now to perform Hajj, you get lost.
Allah Akbar. Why?
Yeah. And if the process you followed in 15 years, last 15 years, now you want to apply the same process, you will not even go to Hajj. Because so many transformation, innovation has come to be. By then, the 80% of the problem we have in yesteryears is inadequate preparation, especially in terms of enlightenment for the pilgrims, and sometimes challenges of airlift, and in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, poor accommodations to the pilgrims. Where some time before, we once performed Hajj where we discovered that a state actually rent a primary school. Wow. A primary school to actually have the pilgrims. Over there in Saudi Arabia. And by then, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia sort of let loose a little dose of loose in terms of how countries go about accommodating their pilgrims in the kingdom. But unlike now, there is a standard, there is a benchmark, there is a procedure. You cannot go below it, but you can go above that standard. So now, the problem in those years is that the Hajj administrators, most of them also are not well trained. You have a system where maybe I'm the executive governor of my state, and I wake up from the wrong side of the bed. I decide to sack the executive secretary, maybe 2 months or 3 months to the perform of Hajj, and I employ my best friend, which happened to be Imam. I say, okay, just occupy that seat. 2 weeks. 2 weeks without minding the intricate details of the plan that the previous man has actually put in place. So thereby entirely jeopardizing the mechanism of implementation in that year. So this has been some of the succeeding problem. And by then we also have problem of what we call basic transport allowance. And when you are managing mass movement, you are not transporting 100 people. Imam, I'll give you a little domesticated source of comparative analysis. If today you are asked to transport 200 people from the city of Abuja, you are the leader, they say, Imam, transport 200 people from the city of Abuja to Oyo, and we are expecting them to arrive Oyo by Monday 12 noon. Today, you call all the 200 people. We are going to Oyo by Monday. We have to be there by 12 noon. You told them, in fact, every day you take it upon yourself to be sending a reminder text message. And you said the vehicle that will pick us to Oyo will leave area 2 by 10 a.m. You expect everybody to be there. I'm not telling you by 9. I can tell you on the day of that transport, by 10 a.m., we are not going to see less than 80 people in that place.
Some people will even come by 12 noon.
Thank you.
But you're supposed to have arrived.
Arrived. I get me. That is just Nigeria for you. It's movement within Nigeria. If I will be there early calling everybody, somebody will tell you he's just taking his bath. Somebody will tell you he even forgot. That, you can see. So that is the challenge of managing mass movement. People are moving en masse from one country to another. And in Nigeria, the peculiar challenge that many even administrators doesn't know is this. The mapping of Hajj population, maybe 70% in the north. Even in that 70%, 85% are from rural areas. People who have not come to the local government headquarters. in their life, they have not even come into the headquarters of the local government, talk less of the state capital. Now you are moving these people right from that remote area to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where you have so much innovation, technological innovation, so many systems that they have done before. So they have that aspect also of being able. That is why I say poor enlightenment also contribute to challenges of Hajj operation in the past. And the BTA mostly is related to where you have to tell pilgrims, not even everybody here know, if you are exchanging $100 to real, how much is it, for example. Even if within the elite, because you don't get, so pilgrims, you give them $500, convert it to real, what is the equivalent? They don't know. Even when they know, how can I manage this money within 30 days? So that enlightenment gap is there. But the most challenges, where by then I still remember in 1984 thereabout, where you have more than 11,000 pilgrims that couldn't travel due to no aircraft. I think specifically Lagos state government have to go to foreign countries by then and brought out an airline. We have low capacity of airline, the technicality in airline management. We have low capacity aircraft that can actually evacuate these pilgrims within stipulated time. And why I'm very much on airlift is this, as I said earlier, that is the only area when you fail, pilgrims will not take it lightly with you. Yeah, it will not, because if I pay for my mom 2-point-something million, as the case may be, and at the end of the day he perform his Hajj in Nigeria, are you getting me? But if you take him to Saudi Arabia, whether he has to manage the accommodation, even if he doesn't have AC, but Tashriq days, she will be able to move to Mina and perform the Hajj, alhamdulillah. So that is why I lay much emphasis on airlift of pilgrims.
In your conversation, in fact, I really appreciate you said something. One of the challenges that we have 70 to 75% of unlettered people performing Hajj, people who are living in the remote areas in their states. How do we curb that problem? Because I believe that we can perform 100% problem-free or itch-free Hajj in Nigeria. In a situation where we want to deal with unlettered people who have never come out from their villages, from inside their... How can we...
Well, the question you asked me, let me rephrase the question. If you are thinking of how do we solve admitting unlettered people, or how to enlighten those unlettered people to be able to perform the Hajj. So that responsibility squarely lies with the state pilgrims welfare boards and agencies, because one of the fundamental functions of state pilgrims welfare agencies is to enlighten and educate intending pilgrims in their various localities in the language which they can understand. And that is why they employ the services of ulamas, the local ulamas, who will teach them. And in that area is too the spiritual do's and don'ts. We the ulamas all know how to perform Hajj Ifrad, Hajj Tamattu. They know everything. But when you come to purely administrative issue, and what as I maybe airline, when do you move pilgrims to the airport? If the flight is leaving by 6 a.m. tomorrow, what is the right time to invite the pilgrims to the airport? The procedure of screening and the LA, how do you go about it? Even the feeding in Saudi Arabia, how? So this one is purely administrative issue. So this is where we need the experts in the communications. Are you getting me? Some time to come in, because communication entails you to be able to pass the message in the right frame where the man will comprehend what you are saying. You can be talking without communicating.
At this point, you're an expert in Hajj operations.
Yes, sir.
Can you foresee any challenges for this current 2023 Hajj operations?
Well,
what areas?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I think there's no Hajj that can be trouble-free. And I'll give you reason why. Even the Imam is here. If Almighty Allah has a Hajj is like a jihad. That when I read it in newspaper, people say we want to ensure a free Hajj exercise. I laugh inside me. I know it's practically impossible. I just give you one scenario of just 200 people. But when you are moving, Nigeria has allocation of 95,000 this year. From the data I have come across, we are going to move not less than about 65,000 pilgrims from Nigeria to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia within 30 days frame, approved by GACA, Saudi General Aviation of this thing. So which miracle? You are going to encounter challenges. What you should be discussing is that how do we ensure whenever these challenges come up, they are immediately on spot resolved? Okay. These are the questions. And how do we also ensure that the right hand, the right mind, the right capacity are put in the right places to minimize the possibility of having this challenge repeatedly? And that is why I will give you Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah operational structures. Okay. You see, every week after the Hajj exercise is over, you will see Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah operational department converging. And what is the first step? To review the challenges encountered in the previous Hajj to ensure it does not repeat itself. I'll give you the vivid example. Move to Jamrat, for example. If you perform Hajj in the last 15 years, do you have the same Jamrat as you have the same Jamrat now? No. Whereby then you have more than sometimes, say, 1,000 people. But now, they say now one day, what do we do? Do we continue to allow people to be... so they come out to building bridges, 4-level bridges. And since that bridge was come to place, I don't think we have a problem of stampede again in the Jamrat. That is forward thinking. So what I actually expect is that whenever we perform Hajj and there's a challenge, we immediately come back with sincerity of mind and review it. Now, specifically, what the challenge am I expecting? I expect a challenge. And what are those challenges? The first challenge that might likely pop up is Saudi Arabia is the issue of Sudan crisis that has come up. There are sometimes unforeseen circumstances that nobody foresee it, because nobody foresee that the Sudan crisis will come. Even COVID-19, nobody foresee that in 2020 there will not be high, that 2021 there will not be high. The Sudan crisis just popped in even at the middle when airline has been selected. Almost the Hajj fare has been announced. People doesn't know the template, the algorithm of calculating Hajj fare this year was strictly based on the distance flow. Based on the distance. Because in airline, the far, the costlier. If you are flying from Kaduna to Abuja, it's not the same as flying from Abuja to Lagos. Or to Maiduguri. So now, the National Hajj Commission sit down and use that template to calculate. That is why you see differentials in the Hajj fare announced. For example, Lagos, to travel from Lagos to King Abdulaziz International Airport take you 5 hours 20 minutes. So that is why Lagos has the highest Hajj fare, 2,999,000 naira. But to transport from Yobe, Maiduguri to King Abdulaziz is equivalent to almost 4 hours or 4 hours 2 minutes. So you have almost 1.5 hour difference. Now let's come to Nigeria. It's like flying from Maiduguri maybe to Osun, 1.5 hour. You can see the distance. So that is why you see the pilgrim from there have 2,789,000 naira. So now the Sudan crisis completely disconfigure that equation. So that's where I said the first challenges I see is on that aircraft. Now, what did Nahakon do? They actually took the best decision, the potent option available. You can't, airline are strictly business oriented. That is just, no matter how you want to be patriotism. My organization, Independent Reporters, has been on their neck, criticizing poor performance. But this, you have to be realistic. If you are moving pilgrims now from Maiduguri through, because the closure of Sudan airspace give us one available option. That is, you have to fly through Eritrea, Ethiopia, Cameroon, Chad Republic to Jeddah. And this gave you almost 7 hours plus 20 something minutes.
Wow.
So why the earlier fare was based on maximum of 5 hours plus, now we have minimum of 7 hours plus. So the airliner said, no, you can't. The aviation jet paying navigation charges and other technical requirements, they need upward review of the hajj fare, of the air ticket. My organization was actually the first to release a statement, even when the airliner have not raised an issue, immediately calling on the federal government, the NAHACON, to actually sit down. We issued this statement less than 1 week when the crisis in Sudan actually happened, because we know it portends challenges. So eventually, on the day of the signing, the local approved airliner raised the issue. And the step that NAHACON has taken, to me, is the best step so far. There's nothing they can do, because if you are asking pilgrims to pay the differential that has been put, and I will actually give you privileged information here. I have the privilege of coming across an expert advice sent to the NAHACON when that crisis happened, that professionally, to calculate the cost of flying 2.5 hours on international airspace will cost you not less than $750 per pilgrims. Wow. If you want to, without editor, that is the standard. That is even depend on which aircraft, either Boeing 747 or Boeing 34. It depends on which aircraft you use. That is what it is. So, and I learned that when this expert advice reached the apex regulatory body, they quickly discard it and keep it on that. Say, no, we can't even go to this area. It's a no-go area. So they have to call for, use your patriotism. This is no more about business. It's about saving the pilgrims. It's about saving Nigeria to perform this hajj fare. So the local airlines go back and sit down, work yourself, and come out with the best. That is why we have $250 being charged on the pilgrims. So that is the first challenge, and I think it might not even go up to that $250 with what I understand. They are still working around to ensure other issues are deflated, other taxes are deflated, use every available. But definitely, pilgrims will have to bear a little brunt out of it. And what is the option available? Is the basic travel allowance.
Madam, we have to pause you there before you give all the options. We are taking a break for a breather. Thank you.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك.
Citizen FM 93.7 in Abuja. You may want to join us on this today's program 081-822-222206 090-3222-9797. Madam, you are trying to give us a solution to perhaps a complicated matter. But I want to also tell you that your solution seems to be complicated more. So you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. As we are dealing with the potential challenges, and we are on the airline, which I said actually constitute 80% before. I think apart from this, even this year, Nigerians could have one of the best free flow airlift of pilgrims. And why is it so? Because of this is the first time we are having more than different 4 airliners.
Like 7?
No, first 4 that we airlift state pilgrims, welfare board pilgrims.
All right. Is there 5?
Yes, no, it's 4. Okay. Yes, it's the Max Air, Asman Airline, Flynas, and Air Peace. Then you have Arik and Aerojet that will serve as charter for the tour operator pilgrims. I didn't put them because it is optional. The tour operators, that is private companies, NACON did not make it binding, but they have been cleared, approved by the federal government. Go and meet the AHOAN, Association of Hajj and Umrah Operators, and liaise with them. If you agreed, you can now fly their pilgrims. But for the state pilgrim welfare board, a contract has been signed, so it is a must. They have to fly all the state pilgrims welfare board pilgrims, which form almost 44,600 something out of the 60-something thousand pilgrims we are to actually airlift. But apart from that, when we reach Saudi Arabia, another potential crisis is
about the BTA thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, the BTA issue that I said there's no way pilgrims will have to take a little dose of the problem. Because why? The amount is huge, $250. But I heard from a reliable source that there might be other deduction that NAHACON will be able to deflate, maybe along partnership with the federal government, but it will still remain. So NAHACON might have no option that to take it from the pilgrims BTA, because that is the only available option. By now, we have less than 7 days to the commencement of airlift. You cannot tax any pilgrims. Even the logistic demand of asking people to go and pay another money, then doing reconciliation in those accounts, we don't have that leisure of time. But despite this, I don't think it's going to be a problem on the part of pilgrims, and I tell you why. Previously, there is no feeding. In the last 7-8 years, pilgrim services in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia does not include feeding. It only involves accommodation in Makkah and Medina, movement within Mashai area by car syndicate services, then and possibly those who pay for Hadaya through IDB, but there's no feeding. So pilgrims are expected to feed, buy food from the BTA. So why is this a challenge? And I also tell you, many people don't know Nigeria is part of the country that actually made that recommendation of feeding because of the experience. There was experience in 2013 where after eating some of these local, they classified them as tikari, that you brought food during Mashai area. There are more than 50-something people, Nigerian pilgrims, that actually purge in Mina. Because they cook food. You don't even know where they cook the food. They brought it during Mashai area because by then, no alternative. You just have to eat what is available to stay strong. So after that crisis, I think by then, under the previous board, a recommendation was made. Plus, other countries who also experienced the same thing. So they now make it compulsory that a pilgrims must be fed by classified and standard company approved by Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. So now if you are having even less than 800 BTA that does not involve feeding, you are being fed twice in those services. I think it is much more easier for pilgrims to manage. Like when they use their BTA before, even though when it is $1,000 to feed throughout that 35 days. There's another problem, as I said earlier, because I actually traveled to Saudi during Umrah as part of the pre-Hajj visit to physically be part of this, to monitor the pilgrims' accommodation and other things. So it's pilgrims' accommodation in Saudi Arabia. It has to do with the distance, because the center of activity in Makkah is the Grand Mosque. That is why you go there. And if you give pilgrims option, they will go and stay and even live in the Grand Mosque. So now that is why Saudi Ministry of Hajj Defense Department, who actually are in charge of approving house, use one of the criteria to classify pilgrims accommodation. The first criteria, if they say you are grade A, your first criteria is your closeness of accommodation to Haram. So they classify this one as grade A. The closer you are,
More expensive.
Yes, because which means your pilgrim will not spend time to be in the Grand Mosque and back. But then you move further, they classify it as B. If you go maybe down Misfala Ibrahim Khalil Road, it's okay, it's C. So now most of Nigerian pilgrims before occupy A and B. I give is 2015 or 2016. Niger State pilgrims occupy one of the most closest accommodation to. By then in Makkah, if you are taking your ablution, you will still meet prayer in the ground. It takes you less than 2 minutes to reach the ground. I think Oyo State pilgrims also once, because I have the data, I was part of this explorative evaluation and comply in it by then. Oyo once also occupy an accommodation that when you are inside that accommodation, you will be seeing the Grand Mosque. Even if you pray there, it's in the Grand Mosque. So, but this year there's a peculiar challenge because Saudi Arabia government have brought a new policy of upgrading the facility of all accommodation in Saudi Arabia. So they have brought down some accommodation previously used by Nigerian pilgrims. So you have less accommodation than before. The entire Makkah has 3.something million accommodation capacity for pilgrims. So last year we have 1 million pilgrims making use of 3.something million capacity. Now we are having the same almost 3 million pilgrims because they have restored the quota back pre-pandemic level, but we are having less accommodation in the Makkah. So this has made some states during our inspection to go as far as where they can just get accommodation for pilgrims, because the one they used before has been brought down. Not only that, you will see accommodation that has been marked by Saudi Defense Ministry. That means you can no more use that accommodation. It has been marked for pull down, so it can be pulled down at any time. Okay. So
are we going back as far as Rebaj of those days that we have accommodation in Rebaj and other?
No, I don't think the pilgrims that stay in Rebaj before, I know, or Shum, Ogum, they have all moved to Misfala, Hijra Street.
Okay.
If I once interviewed the people of Osun State, yes, it was in Hijra Street. Its accommodation is very close to Sokoto Street, just directly opposite the Saudi post. And from there to Haram, you have to spend less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, but the having pilgrim in cluster, what I mean in cluster, you say, for example, Oshun may have 1,000 pilgrims, or even Katsina have 4,000 pilgrims. You expect the accommodation, because the standard is maximum of 500 capacity per pilgrims per building. We are expecting them to have 4 accommodations. So to be in a cluster, one here, so that they can't relate. But that will be challenging this year because Katsina may not be able to secure accommodation in cluster due to the ongoing demolition of houses in Saudi Arabia. So these are some of the challenges, and I actually expect some of the State Pilgrim Welfare Board who have traveled and know this in hand better. You know, in the time of politics, people are afraid to say the truth. Anyway, because of political backslash, we expect them to tell the pilgrims that we always, independent high reporter, we always insist. Tell the pilgrims exactly what to expect, because when you tell them your accommodation just 1 minute to Haram, then the man went to Saudi Arabia and discover he has to discover 30 minutes. Nothing you will tell him again that will have confidence in you, and psychologically he will be demoralized instead of having full confidence to perform his spiritual rights in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But I don't foresee any other challenge because health services wise, the Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, apart from that, we have our own national medical teams, along with other 168 Hajj participating countries. They have make health services have one of their priority. Remember, the current Saudi Minister of Hajj and Umrah was their former health minister, who actually managed the COVID-19 era. So we are better attention. So he pay serious attention to
Malam, we are taking a break very shortly for the call to prayers. Yes. But before we go home, remember we're asking you one question. When you come back, how do we tame emotions of the pilgrims to be kind towards officials or managers of Hajj?
أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
miles away.
To the studios of Citizen FM 93.7 in Abuja. You may still want to join us 0818 206 09032229797. We're on the verge of asking you, how do you tame the emotions of the pilgrims?
Well, I think Hajj entirely is an emotional, traveling is a spiritual purification exercise that everybody has been looking up to, and entails some emotion because of the services being rendered to pilgrims. But if I want to ask a question, I'll ask the question by asking another question. Sometimes we say rather, how do we tame the emotion of the officials so that they be able to control the pilgrims? Because the officials going through emotional stress more than the pilgrims. Because the pilgrims, there's nothing you can, it is expected. They want to do this. Some pilgrims can ask you 10 questions at the same time. When are we moving to Arafat? When am I collecting my hand luggage? When are we paying my BTA? When are we moving to this thing? So it is expected that you answer all these questions. So the challenges lie with the officials to continue to undergo training in emotional stress management, mass movement, how to manage mass people, and most importantly, crowd control, how to control the crowd. Because if I can tell you with my experience, virtually pilgrims are pilgrims for what they are, and some of them are in a foreign country. They know nobody except you. So they will ask you to provide answer to whatever question they're asking. So, and more enlightenment. I will never stop at this. More enlightenment, more education on the part of the pilgrim will reduce the problems to the barest minimum.
Thank you so much, Malam Ibrahim Muhammad. In fact, we really enjoyed all this your analysis. And we can see Jazakumullah khairan. But there is one vital issue. Mostly before we went on break, I think you made mention of something on health which you are trying to analyze. Under that, there is one vital issue that Nigerians, mostly the pilgrims, may need to know, because from experiences, there are a lot of situations whereby slots of health personnel will be given to friends and family, and the pilgrims will get there, maybe falling sick or whatsoever, looking for who to attend to them. So because all these personnel were not given to the capable hands, they were given to maybe politicized and so on. So from your own organization, or let me put it in this way, from your own office as the national coordinator of independent Hajj reporters, have you been seeing that? If yes, how have you been coping it? Or in another way, what is your advice to the federal government in curbing these menace?
Okay, thank you very much. You ask a factual question. I classify as a factual question because it exists. That problem actually exists. And I'll tell you personal experiences on what we have done on our part. There was a year, I will not name the year, and under whose administration, where we have an emergency, especially in Arafat. And I and 3 other people were actually detailed to go and look for health officials. We come across somebody who is actually having that tag. And when you ask him, he said, no, I'm a driver.
Subhanallah.
That's sorry, I'm a driver. I was actually giving my organ. I say you are a driver, so we were able to take his passport number. We have a policy in independent Hajj reporters. It's not everything we make public. There's something we actually write memo.
Madam, we're running out of time.
And take it to the administrators concerned. A lot of them just make recommendation and attach evidence. It's left for them to actually take action. But it has reduced in the creation of the national.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah for this opportunity. We cannot exhaust this moment with him. We wish he could take 3-4 hours.